grassroots tourism product development.
So we'll jump to some of the common challenges with regards to developing tourism, and in particular, community-based grassroots tourism. So one challenge is really understanding what tourism means to your community and how to apply it and go about it. And so we're going to be touching upon all of these challenges throughout the presentation. So, and as well as Clinton mentioned, if any questions come up, please feel free to type them in the message area. Also, just support for entrepreneurs and tourism champions in the community. So we'll be touching upon both the individual entrepreneurs and how to get involved with doing what you're passionate about and love to do, and being a cultural ambassador, so to speak, to your community. And using a community-based approach, what you find is successful is having that passionate champion in the community to move things forward is really important. There's also the whole aspect of market readiness, and I know Clinton in particular has a lot of comments to say about being market ready.
Yes.
And also involving the youth. The youth have the energy, they have the passion, the drive to get started, so that's quite important.
Okay.
Also choosing the right partners. So most communities have small populations. Most businesses are small or community-based businesses, so it's really important to have those partners. Could be the key to your success, and finding the right partners as well. Also technology. Majority of tourists look for travel opportunities on the internet now, so that's the main source that they get all their information, so it's very important to be web ready. Product development, so developing products, so what works, what doesn't, and how to be culturally authentic. And also once you have your products developed, there's that consistency element, so how to keep your products consistent and so people know what to expect when they arrive. So these are all some of the challenges, and like I mentioned, we'll touch upon all of them throughout the presentation. I'll move it over to Clinton here. So as I mentioned, Clinton, one of the main challenges was understanding what tourism means in your community and how to apply it at that grassroots level. So if you can
Sure.
start things off with that.
Sure, Amanda. I think, first of all, the definition of what grassroots really means, and it's something that, at CES we've been preaching for over almost going on 18 years now. And that grassroots really means for it to be organic, and for it to come from the community, and for it to be tailored to the community's needs and be presented in a fashion that is comfortable to the community. And so it really starts at a level of within the community. And often we see a lot of top-down methodologies used whereby either associations or community groups are trying to enforce a sort of a way to have tourism work, and it often falls flat. So grassroots really means organic and starting from within, and that's where the momentum goes. I would also say that there is a huge shift now to what we thought tourism is or was. And so when you're with your community, one of the challenges is when you say we'd like to embark on tourism as one of our economic pillars, there's a lot of confusion, whether it be from the youth all the way up to the elders. What does that mean? And so I think first and foremost, it's really important for you to define to your community what is tourism. And that could be many things. For some, it's maybe they want to open up a small hotel. For others, it's very much culturally based and learning and sharing. And it's a little bit lower than a high capacity Disney sort of model. So you really have to make sure that your community understands what is tourism, what do we mean by tourism. The other thing that, as simple as that sounds, it's important to come up with sort of your own definitions. For example, Amanda, when I was on Easter Island in Chile, one of the things they came up with, they called it their ethnotourism or ethnic tourism, and that all they wanted to do was celebrate. They wanted to celebrate who they are and do it through preservation of culture, and so they focused on it. They made their own definition, and I'm a big believer in doing that and making tourism your own. A big part of making tourism your own is having cultural entrepreneurs, and that's the first thing I wanted to touch on. In every successful model or case that we've looked at, and it's the cultural entrepreneurs that have headed tourism in the community and really made headway. And these cultural entrepreneurs are found in many different facets, from cultural coordinators, from elders, or someone who's passionate about teaching, whether it's workshops on the weekends. There is cultural entrepreneurs in every community. And I find that there is not enough support to these cultural entrepreneurs to get tourism going. And this is the nucleus. This is the most powerful asset communities have, is having these cultural entrepreneurs. So I'll just share a quick story with you on one cultural entrepreneur who I had the opportunity to meet. He has since retired. His name is Gordon Moore at Adventure Macquan in Quebec. This gentleman is a true cultural entrepreneur. He started his business in the 70s before we knew what the word ecotourism, the definition of ecotourism was. He started when they were predating computers, really, and internet, and he had a mass following from all over the world. And his model was really, really grassroots. That is to say, he started his project by preservation of his culture and land, and negotiated that with the government that he would be a keeper of the land, and he would share his knowledge and ways and be a keeper of the forest. And so they agreed. He went on and he started bringing tourists in slowly but surely, and he was very successful. The one thing that Gordon, that resonates for me as far as cultural entrepreneurs and grassroots movement is the ability to start almost immediately by testing the market. And we'll get into this about what I call market readiness, which I do have challenges in referring to communities as market ready. I believe there's a lot of communities that are market ready in the sense that they have cultural entrepreneurs like Gordon. If you look at Gordon, he's just who he is. He's presenting his culture in his fashion, his way, and he was very successful from it, simply by doing what he loves and what he's passionate about. There is a need to support the Gordon Moores, because when Gordon Moore told me his story, people had said to him, both the government saw what he was doing and wanted to get on the wagon with him and say, hey, listen, this is success. We need a good story. What do you need? We'll get you a business plan for $50,000. We'll do this. And Gordon's reply was, no, I don't need all of that. I don't need any regulatory body coming in. I don't need any of that. What I need is a satellite phone and a generator and maybe a couple of students to help me get things prepped. And that's where the money went. And that, to me, is the essence of being market ready, is to get what you need, to do it, and to have the passion behind it. Now, I will say that Gordon did absolutely have to follow some things like food safe, which he had no problem with, but it wasn't over-regulatory. It wasn't a checklist. You got there, and you just you were in his world, and the activities changed as the weather did or as Gordon did, but you were really in his world. You just want to switch over.
So Clinton, just a question.
Sure.
So there's a few economic development officers that are listening in right now. So if a community has some of these cultural entrepreneurs, what would be kind of a way to support them to get started? Yeah.
So one of the biggest things is to get these cultural entrepreneurs to come in. and sit down with them. There is a caveat to this, though. If you try to get all the cultural entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in one room and try to discuss all of their ideas, it's probably not going to go over very well. Entrepreneurs by nature have ideas, and all they need is that support. So maybe that is the community support of whether it's the band council resolution, helping them set that up, or maybe it's accessing funding, or maybe it's helping them get the business up and running and letting them focus on what they do best. Again, Amanda, with Market Ready, you know, some market readiness standards say you have to know accounting, you have to know this, you have to know. No, you don't. I don't believe that. I believe you should be doing what Gordon Moore did, getting out there and doing what you love and sharing it with people. It's as simple as that. So the communities can help with those respects and helping either financially or funding or helping them get the land they need, etc.
So I know you touched upon market readiness. So now, I guess if you can talk about developing and packaging these market ready, so to speak, tourism services that are offered by the cultural entrepreneurs.
Right. So with the market readiness, ready tourism products, I believe that in any community, and I would argue that everyone that's joined us right now, that there is someone right now that has a market ready tourism product, but they haven't gone to market with it, or we have this perception that it needs to be 3 or 4 days long, multi-trip, a serious agenda with it. They have to have a business plan. They have to have all of these things. And I think that's what stifles a lot of Indigenous tourism. And so when we looked at packaging moments, we thought, well, what about these moments that we all hear about? And this is an example here that at a Great Spirit Circle Trail where it was best practices that we went on, and it was a 1 hour, just a workshop, and we were going to make some drums, or whether that's even having a traditional feast. You know, these are the moments that everybody talks about. And then there's always that question, well, how do we turn this into something? And I think that's where it goes wrong. And I'm a little bit controversial on this item. I believe that we could package these moments, and that's where it should start to develop Indigenous tourism, is packaging moments in every community. And entrepreneurs will see this. Here out in Quebec, I was with these gentlemen, and we were netting whitefish and then cleaning it after. To most people, a business or a consultant would say, well, we could turn this into, we need to do a business plan. There was no need. I spent 2 hours with them. It was one of the most incredible experiences. I loved it to just be with the people, and really it was the people. And this was a moment. So there had to be, or has to be, a vehicle to package these moments. And this is something that we've been working on. And I think if we take each entrepreneur, cultural entrepreneur, and if they have an important thing to share, whether it's a half an hour, 1 hour, or 2 hour, and we package it and we showcase them as that product for that one little session, and we have a multiple amount of these little moments, it will add up to one big product. And ultimately, people can just come into the community and pick and choose which one of these moments they have. And I think this is how grassroots tourism really gets going, as opposed to this big top-down, market-ready, important packages, multi-day trips. Just start with experience.
So now that we have all these experiences, what would be the next step then, as far as marketing and promoting goes?
Yeah, so often what happens is, people will say, that's great, we have these entrepreneurs, these cultural entrepreneurs, how do we get them to market? And how do we get them to start? And how do we get people to know that they're here? And how can it be sufficient? Like, how can they be sustainable if they're only doing this 1 hour a day? And I would say that once they start practicing it and understanding and having groups or even individuals come in, whether it be government or workers staying over in their community that have a chance to have this moment, it'll start to build and they'll start to see the benefits. One of our clients in Mysticity had shared her with a beaver preparing the beaver and then cooking it was 1.5 hours. And in that 1.5 hours, she made $350. I'm not saying that it's all about the money, but there's an idea of how that one little moment was sustainable, and she saw the benefits and she wants to do more of them. But it starts with a solid digital strategy. And what I mean by that is that you have to start using technology. You have to focus more on what's important to the people, and that is to see the images that they may involve themselves in. And this is something we got from Greenland, which I think did a tremendous job. But you can see yourself there, you can see yourself in the activity, and there's people in the picture. Less is more, not a lot on the website, not too busy, and just getting right to what's important, and that is what the activity is or what you're marketing. The other thing about, sure.
Oh, sorry, Clinton. So why do you feel technology is so important when you're developing tourism?
So here's an example of something that we just did in the first stage of branding for Aboriginal Ontario, which we're hoping to call Indigenous Tourism Ontario because of our good friends at Six Nations who helped us with that definition. But the reason why is that without it today, it's the major platform. It's the way the world can access you. It's the way they can get direct contact to you. More so, there is self-regulating social media. There's tools in there that can be so easily used to get you for a very minimal price. Some of the websites you can get are $20 a month, and they'll give you all the tools and assistance to help you set up. But I see so many communities that don't have the even a website set up or those people set up. And the focus on the digital strategy is to really focus on your cultural entrepreneurs and to really have the faces of those individuals, the people that are presenting this product. Not just grand text or things, but really the people that you would actually meet, put a name to their face, and have a connection with the person trying to buy the product. And an easy way to detect whether or not you have a web presence already is, can you right now, with your own phones or your own mobile smartphone, access your website and your tourism website or your community's website where there is a link to these community entrepreneurs or these moments or these cultural products? And usually the case is no. And usually what will happen is communities will say, well, we have a website, it's good enough, it works, it gives us our news, it's there, we already paid for it, somebody did it for us, it was much cheaper. And I would say to you, is one tool we have here, it's free, Google Webmaster Tools, and it checks whether or not your current website is mobile friendly. So Amanda, I think if you just click on it, it might take you right to it.
Oh, oops. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, you'd have to click on your mouse, not the arrow. Right there,
oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So when you get there, it'll open up, and it's a mobile-friendly test. So you just type in your website, and we'll do ours, for instance. And this will give you an idea, and especially if you're having a little bit of issues convincing your chief and council or your administration that the website is not good enough to promote your tourism products to the world, this is bulletproof. It'll just objectively tell you whether or not you're mobile ready. So as it analyzes, it's actually doing a number of tests. This will to make sure it fits on an iPhone, it'll make sure it fits on a Android, it'll make sure that certain things can be searched a certain way, it'll make sure that your screen size will automatically adjust and scale, etc. And then it just really prints out a really easy report. And it says right there, awesome, this page is mobile friendly. It shows you what your website looks like on your mobile phone, and then that's one step. So further to that, having a good digital strategy is really important. If you just want to go back, Amanda.
Yep. So then, so now that you have your digital ready, what would be a good way to promote like each of these cultural entrepreneurs and the package moments that you spoke about?
Right. So what we had worked on is a model, if you just want to go to the next one, and that's sort of marketing cultural products and services under one interactive platform, and we called it AIM, the Authentic Indigenous Moments. And what this does is allows cultural entrepreneurs without a formal business plan or without a major investment, the ability to go out and market themselves for a moment. Again, say that you wanted to share in catching fish and harvesting them, and that's an hour, and you want to put a price to it. And if you just want to go to the next slide, I'll show you what that looks like. This is going to be on a mobile platform where everybody can access a moment in your community. So your community in your digital space would have it set up, and it would really just show your cultural entrepreneurs, tourism products, and some of those moments, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or a day, whatever you'd like. But these short little wonderful moments that can be celebrated and with a price. And this model really came and is a trend in a different way across North America right now. For instance, the available model in the United States has been just launched this, and it's been successful. And I thought, well, why can't we apply this to our Indigenous communities and give them the same opportunity and venue to promote their products? So this example here, you'll see the gentleman on the left, Queen's Taste of the World. His Jeff Taste is his name. It's $59. You get to go, you're with him for 2 hours. He's going to take you while you're in New York to the really cool places, show you what it's about. You have a couple of tastes, and that's it. Now, if Jeff gets 10 people in a couple of hours, he's making $600, just like that. So he's motivated as an entrepreneur, as someone who's really passionate about what he's doing, to go out and share it with the world. And you can see some of the other examples here. So what happens if we put this into the perspective of Indigenous tourism and said that, you know what, you can have that traditional lunch, it's $45, and it's with Isaac, and you have a picture of Isaac, who's the guy. Here's the wonderful thing, and Amanda, this is what I was talking about, high regulatory, enforcing too many regulations. This is self-governing. We literally have been getting, we can get entrepreneurs loaded up within an hour, hour and a half, help them write their little script, refine their product, they're up and running, and they're monitored by social media. So there's an integration of social media here that allows users, and you can see Jeff's got 5 stars and 51 reviews. Now there is a policing to this. If Jeff was getting 1 stars and no one liked it, they would remove him from the site, and another cultural entrepreneur or another entrepreneur would have that opportunity. So it's self-policing. You don't need all of this regulation, and you don't need this forced top-down negative connotation to developing tourism. Rather, these people can see that if they get more people and more reviews, they're going to make more money. So it's a really, really interesting concept and something I'm very passionate about. And we call this the Authentic Indigenous Moments model. So we'd like to do this with cultural entrepreneurs right across North America and build up these products in each community.
And it also addresses having that consistent product development as well for the individual, because you want to strive to get 5 stars each time. You don't want a bad review.
Yeah, and so for someone, I've been working with Indigenous people for 20 years now, and for tourism development, if I hear one more person say, well, what happens if the tourist comes and they don't show up, and what happens if they do this? Well, you know what, if you're embarking on a model like this and it's self-policing and it's encouraging, you're never going to have that issue. And quite frankly, anytime I get into a community, no matter what happens, it's probably one of my favorite places to visit because it's so welcoming. It's this wonderful, space and atmosphere, and the people I meet always have an impact on me. So this is self-policing, and you can get rid of that top-down method.
So now we're talking kind of more from the individual perspective. So
Right.
there's also the whole community aspect of using technologies to share a community story as a whole.
Right.
And yeah.
So one of the things, I mean, aside from us celebrating those moments and those cultural entrepreneurs on an individual level, a lot of our clients or people say, well, how do you know what you have in the community? How do you do a resource inventory? And one of the really special ways of doing this, again, is using a digital strategy, is by digital storytelling and collecting stories. And this is actually David's, who's joined us today from Chesterfield Inlet, who's embarked on this, and we did this project with him. But it was a matter of collecting all those stories and having this inventory, this great inventory. And believe it or not, this is where these cultural entrepreneurs springboard, or this is when you discover your champions in the community, and that have a story to tell, and you can build moments from this. But anyway, Amanda, I'll let you go from this.
Okay, sounds good. And yeah, I was one of the project leads working with David on this project, and it's such a great way, again, to showcase what your community has to offer, and it is those stories that make your community special and bring people in. So such a great project. It's called the My Community App Project, and yeah, if you're interested in more information, just feel free to shoot us an email as well, and we're always happy to share more stories about that. And here's just a little snippet from the site.
So basically, what it is that there is segments, video that were taken by the community project involving the youth and the elders, and it was a real great exchange for the elders and the youth to connect either through interviews, and the youth got to do something cool, which is using digital strategies and digital technologies, and they got to learn. And in this particular clip, that is obviously a little too heavy for the memory, um,
Hmm.
is just him talking about the history of Chesterfield Inlet and how it got its name. But it was what we found out is that the kids were just really amazed that I didn't know that, or the traditional games or whatever. And David has been a champion really heading that out, and these resources keep on building up. And there's many stories, and you can find these stories by date or by person or by theme. And but then again, now you have a resource. Most importantly about this, and we did this, up out on the west, and with West Moberly, and they really thought it was cool because some of their elders they had lost after we had done the project, and they had this digital record and these stories, which was wonderful for generations to come. Your band office burns down, and some of your digital archives are in there, it's gone. But if you have it in digital space, I can't tell you how important that is and how important it will be to, your tourism at the end of the day.
Hmm. And it's accessible on one platform as well.
In
So
one platform, right?
yeah.
So, but that's a really good starting place for a community if they're really wanting to see what assets or resources that we have. And you be getting the youth, elders, getting everybody involved, cultural coordinators, and it comes together and it's all there for everyone to see. Some things that there are certain private things that are only for the community to see, but for the rest, it was a wonderful way to share with the world and invite people to their community and give more of a perspective of who they are.
So back to now, we kind of switched over to more the community approach to tourism development. I'm going to be just talking about indigenously driven projects and giving from an international perspective from some of my recent travels to visit some indigenous communities in India. So there was a grassroots tourism project that I had the privilege of seeing and experiencing there. And from my being involved in the tourism industry for a while, I think they're just doing such a great model using this community-based approach. And where it all started was with that I spoke to earlier about that strong community champion that had the vision. So someone like Gordon Moore too, on the individual side of things, that if you're passionate and you really want to share your culture, you want to be involved with tourism, you want to move forward, you have to have that drive. And you can't just do it for the sake of, making money and, being caught up in that trap. You have to be passionate about it. And so this project, it's very grassroots. It's called the Desia Ecotourism Project, and it's located in the tribal areas of Odisha, India, which is eastern India. So there's quite a few indigenous tribes that reside in this one area. So what they did was start this project by there was the champion that started it, and it's situated in between about 7 different villages. So put the word out, went and visited each of these villages asking if people wanted to be involved with this project. So there was a great response, and in particular by the youth. So the youth and people that were interested in it then got the training to be able to move forward with the project. And it started very basic. So this is the main kind of area. So the larger building is the kitchen area and kind of common area for the guests that stay there. And there's also all these little huts that are situated that are there for local artisans to come. And so they're also working on artisan projects, so selling arts and crafts, doing arts and crafts demonstrations, and also empowering the communities to start these little micro businesses and spin-off opportunities as well. So selling their artwork, sharing the stories along with their artwork, and following fair trade principles. So making sure that they sell it on fair, based on fair trade principles as well.
And again, this is all self-regulated,
Yeah.
based, culture really.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in sharing culture. It's done from the perspective of empowering the local people as well to do what they love, and then also be able to make a living from doing what they love.
Another note to is the
Yeah.
infrastructure wasn't a lot, right, Amanda? Like the infrastructure to put this together.
Very basic, and again, it was all built by the community collectively. So, you schedule, a 2-week period just to for the whole community to get together and volunteer and get it done. So then again, there's that pride because it was built by the community. It wasn't, people from the outside coming in and building something. It's all done very grassroots.
Right.
So here, that's myself with some of the local indigenous women, just when we went to the market to visit. And this is Yuga Brat. He is the champion that had the vision to start this and put in, when you're passionate about something, you have to kind of put in the blood, sweat, and tears into the project. So he literally was, sleeping on, people's front porches while the project was getting built, and really building that relationship with all of the community members and creating that awareness and understanding again, which was one of the challenges that we talked about earlier, just understanding what tourism means and how to apply it. So it does, you can't just expect things to just pop up. You do have to put in that initial hard work.
And looking at other communities as partners and not competition, and that's the other thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So they collectively worked with all these 7 different communities. So it shows that there is that strength in partnerships, and it is a lot of work, but once you do it, then it has really good results. So again, talking from the community involvement. So it's primarily it was the younger generation that wanted to be involved with this project. So you know, they're so excited about it. Again, it's an opportunity for them to get training as well. So if you wanted to be part of this project, you got, you know, I think it was a month training course on just tourism customer service, management, and stuff like that. So so looking at kind of those perspective, if there's young people that are interested in tourism but don't have the experience, so to speak, you can look into opportunities to start these capacity building programs too, and give them those skills and knowledge, and then, you know, the sky's the limit.
And so the other thing, Amanda, is that these moments were built by the community, so they all contributed to what they wanted to share, right?
Exactly. And this again, like, is a super simple activity that we just decided to do on the fly one day. It was a nice day, so everyone wanted a picnic, so we did it. All the staff and myself got together, and we went to this waterfall and just like put down these mats and had a nice picnic. And it was just, you know, it was unplanned, but just such a fun activity to do. So again, it's you don't need much to do these experiences. It's just about, you know, sharing and sitting, sharing your culture, sitting and chatting with people. It's, you know, eating is always always a good way just to relate with other people as well.
And ironically, a lot of people will say, well, you know, to have good tourism products, it's got to be so controlled and so contrived. But the irony of it all is Indigenous tourism doesn't work that way. The whole thing is why we're all in love with Indigenous tourism is because it's sort of spontaneous, and it's based on discovery and being there in the moment. It's not based on an itinerary and a super scheduled time.
Definitely. Yeah, and again, just here I am with the staff, and so there's 2. I'll show you pictures too. There's 2 accommodation facilities in the background there as well, and it's very like simple. There's no structure, so you could literally show up, and then it's kind of like, oh, what do you want to do today? And the girls would invite me just to go and visit, because they're all from different villages. So I went to visit a couple different villages, and then have chai and some tea and meet their family and stuff like that. And those were just such special moments. So again, like you don't need much to get started. It's just all about sharing and welcoming people into your community.
Yeah, and again, just to reinforce that, I mean, some people, when they go on holidays, they'll always talk about the unexpected moment that they had, as opposed to, yeah, I was on a whale watching tour, it was great, but then I met a local fisherman and I talked to him. It was unbelievable. I had a lunch with him. It was the best experience of my life. Unplanned.
Yeah, exactly. And so staying culturally authentic, I know that is sometimes it is a challenge, because it's, you know, you're offering a service and there's a dollar amount to it. But if you can stay close to just you know, just staying true to who you are, and not kind of, we always use the word Disneyfy. So making it kind of cheesy and staged, and, you know, it's not what people are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes, being a culturally authentic just doesn't mean the activities. It's also you know, whether it's the accommodations, the building, the feel of the place too. And instantly when I arrived at this place, like I felt it was special. And again, you felt that like all the structures were built by the community. There was an artist that did design the main accommodation facility, and it's all based on the traditional Indigenous dwellings. So it's was a clay structure with just fun painting, and I had a really cool washroom, which I always know the washroom being a female traveler. Washrooms are always important to me, so I got excited when I saw this one. and and yeah, just a really nice little hangouts, like sitting area for people just to relax and take things in as well. And I think there's such an opportunity throughout Canada for really beautiful accommodations like this. And in a lot of my travels throughout Canada, there aren't too many places that I've come across that like have a really like unique, like authentic feel to them. So I think there's a really great opportunity when, if you're interested in having accommodations in your community, to make it something special and make
Yeah.
that part of the experience.
And that word too, just even in marketing, is certainly, I mean, it's what we've learned to speak is the word authentic. But it's almost, again, sort of, it's almost redundant in telling, an indigenous community they need to be authentic because that's really who they are. I think what's happening now is these, people that have been consultants or regulatory bodies have been saying, to do tourism a certain way, and now they're realizing the best way is to just let the communities do what they want, and that's authentic. So now that's the branded word. So
Hmm.
authenticity is already there. It's just a matter of letting the communities pursue what they really want to do themselves.
Hmm. Definitely. And so again, kind of switching over to empowerment and empowering the youth. And so having that strong team for community projects is really important. And you could tell with all the staff that work there, they're just so proud to work there because they received this training. They're treated well. They're empowered to have key roles within the organization as well. So that's really important, just to have that really strong team.
Hmm.
And again, it goes along with having a good leader as well.
Yeah, and setting up a model. I mean, setting up a model for the community to be involved, and so that there aren't too many politics involved, whether it's just an individual benefiting from it or perceived as benefiting from it. But setting up a model that everybody can contribute and be a part of it is really important.
Hmm. And again, with projects like this, there's all those spin-off opportunities that can happen. And like I said, they have the program with the local artists in the community to be involved and be able to sell their products. This region also has really great agricultural practices. So they're looking at ways to um, other communities and also bring in university and create kind of education and research partnerships and sharing knowledge and information. Um, so it doesn't have to just be kind of in this like one little box. Like there's so many spin-off opportunities that can happen once you have that kind of base,
Yeah, and
that base model. Mm-hmm.
so we've got about 6 minutes left, and I think we're almost there, and we'll make sure we have some time for questions.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I just kind of get caught up sometimes talking about this. So, again, it's all like when you're hosting visitors as well, it's all about bridging those cultural divides and creating an understanding and awareness of your cultures. And again, there's with these moments and just doing simple experiences, there's that time for it. And when we had the picnic at the waterfall, like we literally were just hanging out, and the girls wanted me to wear their sari and put their jewelry on me, and just, it's all these simple moments that just made it such an incredible experience. And doing something simple like just sitting around a fire one night and sharing stories, like it's just so much connection and magic can happen. So just to kind of sum things up, uh, to get started with projects like this, you just need that dream and the passion to move forward with it. And again, that strong leader, that supportive team and structure in your community, and I think the sky's the limit.
Yeah. And so you've seen the perspective of individuals, cultural entrepreneurs. You've seen the perspective from how a community can do it, and you see the importance of two different spectrums. One is having, you know, your traditional indigenous grassroots authenticity come through, and then in the other part, it's using technology, and those working together can really put you on the map. We are going to be offering one-on-one coaching sessions. So that is just as we did now, but like whether it's an hour, if you'd like, and we can actually discuss your project with you, no fee, of course, and steer you in the right direction, whether it's us helping you or putting you in the direction of someone that can help you. And for anyone that's interested, all you have to do is just reply to the you can sign up at the info at CES Clients, or you can call, which is my favorite thing to do, is just to talk to people and let us know that you're interested in a one-on-one coaching session or the program, and we would be more than happy to help you with that with no obligation for the one-on-one coaching session whatsoever. So that's just our contribution to building Indigenous tourism, because we believe in it, and we also are thankful for the clients that have helped us stay around for 18 years. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have other sessions, and we would love to hear from you. And if there's something that you'd like us to touch on, that's how we can adapt, we can roll. If there's any ideas you have, we'll be doing another webinar session, and we'd love to have you all again. And you can join us at our Facebook or our blog, or just pick up the phone and say hi, which is, like I said, something I like to do. So thank you all so much, and I wish you the safest and most wonderful holidays.